This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded March 10th, 2015. Episode 240. Worldly Working Wonks.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
Just us this week?
Just us? Hey man,
Yep.
What's new?
Nothing.
No?
Nothing changes in my world.
No?
You know
Okay.
this, yet you keep asking. For 5 years,
Well.
you've been asking the same question.
I guess. I don't know. I saw you climbing through canyons on Twitter and, just usual Aussie nice
Right.
weather stuff.
Yep. No.
Yeah.
Mm.
How them real estate prices there in Sydney?
Right, yeah, tell me about it.
Right, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, man. I
Yep.
saw someone sent me a thing that said, like, it was showing real estate prices in the States and just like rentals for a one-bedroom type of thing.
Right, yep.
And it said the average in different parts of San Francisco was like $3,300 for a one-bedroom rental. And it's just like, you could...
What, is that a
live-
month or what?
That's a month, yeah, sorry.
Right.
And it's just like, you could just live remotely and fly in. And that's kind of what I do.
Oh,
so.
right, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
It's that bad, huh?
Yeah,
That you could just
you
fly
miss
in
a lot
every
of
day.
other things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, commuting. Commuting via airplane.
I actually did the math on this once. I've got some friends who wanted to live near, they work in the city, right? So they wanted to live near the city. And of course it gets in Sydney, like probably most cities, like, major cities, the closer you get to the central business district, the more expensive
Yeah.
it gets, right?
Yep.
Per square meter, right? So they're paying they want to pay, huge dollars to live right near, so that they could be, so they could actually have less
hop out of
hassle
bed and
getting
you're right
to work,
next to work.
right? And that
Yep.
happened, but it wasn't that easy, right? They still had to, hop on a bus and take some, 15, 20 minutes to get there, and Anyway, so it's not that close, but they're paying this huge premium, and they're going, oh no, we don't want to live out, actually
In the
further
boonies,
out, but
in the
yeah,
burbs.
because it costs, it takes longer to get there. I'm saying, yeah, it takes longer, but it's infinitely cheaper, and you could actually hire a chauffeur to take you to work every day. And I actually did them, and it was cheaper. Like not a cab, but to like get a, it worked out actually cheaper over like 10 years or something to get someone to chauffeur you to and from work or something. It was just
Right, yeah.
yeah, it was.
That's an interesting implication because, like the whole
Crazy.
idea of like a self-driving car as well. I mean, that's effectively what it is. It's like a robotic chauffeur.
Right, yeah, right.
And, you still have the travel time, but then you could not pay attention and you could, unfortunately, you don't have to listen to
Yeah, that's right.
podcasts. You could watch videos, so
Right.
you'll be okay. I guess you could watch contextual electronics and solder in your car and stuff like that.
Right.
Dear Google,
that sold
please
us a real
add... Yeah.
that sold us a real bitch when it slams on the brakes,
Yeah, right.
Those solder splashes.
Yeah, yep, exactly. 14 more people were injured today with severe burns. Well, but still, I mean, that's kind of the idea, right? Is you could have
Right.
that should lessen the infrastructure needs, but there are still downsides to that stuff.
Yep.
That's
Anyway.
fun implications, though. That's fun.
Well, I did the same thing here. I paid a lot extra for this lab because it was near home, right?
Yeah.
Paid a lot. I could have got much bigger, maybe not better. Like, I actually like this one. It's a nice building. It's like, nice convenient location to various things. But yeah, it's,
I mean, it drains on you. I mean, I had a big commute at my old job, and it can drain on you. It's just at the end of the day when you're like ready to just get home and you got a 45-minute wait. It's like,
I know.
You got to be kind of attentive.
That's what happened with Altium. I never thought I would work so far from home as I did with Altium, especially like in the first 9 months to 12 months I was there, because we were in the old building, and that was further. That was a nightmare to get to, and that would have taken, if I went in peak hour, that would have taken like 2 hours. To get there. It would have been that bad, So, but thankfully they, allowed flexible hours. So I'd, go in after peak hour, but it was still bad. It was still like, that 45, a good run would be 45 minutes each way. But, if there was some hold up, it was at least an hour, it was over an hour or more each way.
We should say hello to all of our listeners who are in the car. I know that's the main time I listen to podcasts is in the car. So hello, right. Sorry about your drive.
Sorry, your life has gotten to that point where you've had no other choice but to commute.
But you're listening to these two idiots on the way to work.
But I hated my existing job so much, and the Altium one sounded so good that I went, look, hey, who cares,
no, it can be worth it, right? I mean,
try it, and then it actually got better because I was there for like 9 months, and then we moved buildings to. It wasn't that much further away, but just the way that the roads worked, I could be there in like 25 minutes. It was like halfway across Sydney.
Nice.
But if I got it was like motorway all the way, and and if I went after peak hour, it was just like a dream run. So
it's interesting too because you see shifting in not demographics, I guess, but just like. I mean, just in workspaces and, like obviously not a lot of manufacturing is co-located anymore,
right.
Unfortunately. I think that's actually a downside, but the upside to that is that you can have an office space in a city versus, a lot of, Keithley was in the burbs out here where I live near there still. I mean, ABB was the burbs. It's just like these, because it was manufacturing on site and you need space. And basically what would happen is you'd get like these local suburbs giving tax breaks to try and get jobs out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that ends
get
up...
these massive spaces for almost free. They're like
exactly.
giving them away. Right. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that ends up sucking for when you're younger, right? Because you're like, I want to live in the city or live wherever, right. and then you got to commute out to the suburbs.
Still living at my parents because it's
it's
convenient to work.
But, right. But then older engineers as well. Like if you're like all those other places, there were always suburbs around there, and that's where a lot of them would live basically. And it's just kind of the only thing that sucks then is if you need to change jobs and there isn't other stuff around. So then you got to work in your basement.
Oh goodness! Anyway.
It's finally warming up in my basement, so I'm happy.
Excellent. Yeah. What is this? I've had massive delays in my microcurrent shipments, and I've been talking to Australia Post about it. And they're saying, like like half of the US is like all their airports are backlogged because they're all just snowed under, and all the the whole mail system is just like ground to a halt. Is this common?
Yeah, well, think about it like a network, man. It's just like that kind of, you get one disruption in the system and it just ripples. So.
It just, exactly. And they're saying, look, for regular mail, it flies into this airport, right? It flies into JFK and it just stays there.
Oh, well, JFK,
right? And it just stays there forever. Right? And it's like... Yeah, that's where my microcurrent, so I'm getting all these yanks in the last month or so contacted me. Oh, my microcurrent, where does it normally take this long? Where is it? I don't know. And I've been checking the tracking. It's just sitting somewhere, and I have to explain to yanks that, well, your country's turns into gridlock. Exactly.
It's clearing up finally. Finally.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, I obviously I'm at home, and a lot of my outside influence these days comes via UPS or USPS. Or
right.
FedEx. Yeah. It's just like, and I am consistently amazed at just the logistics side of things.
I know. It's absolutely incredible.
A terrible business that totally makes every dollar they own. They charge you, kind of thing. It's just.
But it's amazing how they can, those efficient systems, FedEx and Amazon and all the rest, and it's just incredible how their systems work, though. How they make them so efficient.
Yeah, I mean,
things like that.
Yeah, that is the future of automation. We talk about the the self-driving cars, but that's only one piece of automation. It's just like a lot of automation is going to be software based and that kind of like business automation type stuff, and that's where the money is, I think.
Before the show, we were talking about the Adam, Will, and Norm podcast, right? The Tested
yep.
podcast, right? I was just watching this before the show, and they were talking about the death of Radio Shack, right? So they're talking about, so Radio Shack's died, and they were, they did a whole podcast episode on it, and and they were talking about how Amazon have now got this. They'll keep the most popular things like in the most local hubs because they got all the data and they can ship it to you within the hour. Or something
that's
like
in San Francisco.
Is it? Right, okay. And they're saying,
is not in Cleveland, Ohio yet.
Right, okay, yes. But in the big cities, right, and they'll ship it to you within like an hour or two, and they're going, that's quicker than going down to your local store. Even if you live next door to DigiKey, or even if you lived a 30-minute drive from DigiKey headquarters, right? It's just it's quicker.
Just because you don't have any stakeholdering in that, because you're just waiting, right? You can be doing other things, so it's worth a lot more.
Oh, it's just
well,
incredible.
Don't kid yourself. I mean, all of the distributors in electronics are looking at Amazon. I mean, eventually Amazon might get into it. I don't know if they actually will, but all of them strive to be like that. It's just like in terms of the factory, the warehouse efficiency type stuff. I mean, that's why Amazon bought the robotics company they did, just for because that's how they're doing so much stuff. Did you ever see that? The what's it called?
I haven't seen inside their factory. No, I know they're buying companies like that.
Yeah,
so several, haven't they, or something?
Oh crap! What's their name? Kiva Systems. And if you look at the robots, they're it's a fantastic solution. It's so the robot's actually like a low to the floor, super high torque kind of thing, and it just goes underneath that entire shelf, and it just it rotates, and that actually spins it up to increase the height, picks up the shelf, and then it moves the entire shelf to the picker.
Right.
And the whole picker
the picker doesn't have to move, right?
Exactly, right.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And they would have got the data on that. Like, it takes X amount of seconds for an operator to walk from here to here.
Exactly.
I've done this in large factories, not to the same scale, but it's a similar thing. We would stand there with a stopwatch watching the operators secretly, because then if you did it while they were watching, it has a bias effect because they're
Schrodinger's operator. If you watch them, they change behavior or something.
They change, quantum workers, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, so we stand there, so we'd be peeping through the window off the stopwatch, watching them, timing how long it takes on average, and you'd have to do it, have to get a lot of data to get averages and across a lot of employees, but you get an average figure and you go, right, it's quicker if we install like an automated thing that comes to them.
Yeah. You replace all the stupid parts, right? I mean, not saying the workers are stupid. I'm saying the walking just between shelves is stupid, and then you optimize for the intelligent parts, which in that case is human intelligence of recognizing an object and then pulling it off a shelf and putting it in a box. That is still the really, really hard part, which is what they'll work on next. Basically, that's what they talk about is once you have the system that it brings the shelves to a worker, the next thing you replace is the worker.
Right, exactly.
It is what it is, right?
That's it, but it's a big deal, because we had like a 180-meter long factory, and with 8 or 10 benches that were like 160 meters long, and you couldn't duck under the benches, right? You had to, if you were halfway down a bench, it took you X amount of seconds to walk the 100 meters down, all the way down, so you could walk to the other side of the bench, to the other side of that same bench. You would have to walk like 300 meters to get to the other side of the same bench.
Yeah.
Right? It was,
crazy.
It's just, it was horribly inefficient. But then but that was the working environment, so then you had to design your tools and your techniques to work around that to make it the most efficient thing possible. And
right. Yeah, the layout of factories is kind of sometimes unavoidable just from whatever it is. But
and then how the work flows from one process on one bench to the next bench, because we'd, take the product, you do a certain manufacturing step on one bench, then you roll it up, you take it to the next bench, and we had automated winching machines and, all sorts of jazz. So, yeah, it was...
Right, and and that's the crazy thing is, like, it's not like one of those things where it's like, well, this might make a worker happier or might reduce.
Right.
You always try and reduce ergonomic type stuff because you don't want to have like eventual injuries, things like that. But it's like when you can time someone and then you can say, I will save
I can 5
save
hours
this
of
much
your
money.
life this month, or I can save X amount of money, right?
Money. It's always money. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, for us, it was, money, it always comes down to money. But in terms of us, it was product throughput. We could only make, 5 of these things a day, right?
Yeah.
But if we could make 6 a day, if we could squeeze out an extra, 5% here, 5% there, and get 6 a day, right, that was a huge thing, right? That was, that was worth a lot of money, right? So, yep. Those were the days working in production.
Yeah.
Yes.
Making stuff.
Terrific. Speaking of which, people should start making stuff because there's, a new Hackaday prize.
Yes, which you are a judge once again.
Apparently I am. Yeah, I am listed on the website. I have not got any details about it, but I'm listed on the website. I actually just found out what it's about just this morning because it's up on the website now. So I just didn't know that they went, we're running the 2015 Hackaday contest. You want to be a judge? We were like, yeah, why not? Glutton for punishment, and that's all. That's all I knew. So tell us about it. You would know more than me.
So it's so the basic idea is switching over to instead of open connected devices, still there's the idea of the open and being connected is good, but basically working more towards kind of solving world problems. So farming,
didn't Element 14 did this, didn't they? They did an eco prize a couple of years back. Yeah, they did.
Okay.
It was a big thing. The CEO of Element 14 came out and we're doing the world's biggest design contest. You have to design some eco thing, and it was I think it was a lot of money. It was like $100,000 prize at the time, which was one of the biggest prizes ever, single prizes ever offered, I think. At the time, and I don't remember who won, and I don't think many people entered. I don't think it was a particularly hard contest to win, but yeah, somebody won it. I can't remember.
Cool,
Sorry, cool. I'll find details and link it in.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Anyway, sorry. Did I mention it was like a Save the Earth kind of contest? It was
you said it was like an eco type thing. Yeah, that makes sense.
Contest.
I mean, this could be a lot of things, though. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily just like eco, like saving, like the planet itself, but also helping populations. It could be medical stuff, things like that. Just kind of solve important problems. That's the idea. And there was actually there's a document that just recently came out that I sent those guys, and I'm pretty sure they put it in here somewhere. But basically, there was actually a list. It was a really, really interesting list. Let me see if I can find it. Well, I don't know where it is, but basically, there was a foundation that recently put out a list of 50 problems that actually need to be solved right now in order to kind of move the human race forward. And
yeah, I can think of a few key ones.
Like what?
They don't necessarily involve the environment.
Oh no, yeah, exactly. I mean, it doesn't need to, right? I mean, it could be education, it could be human health. I mean, there's a lot of things like that. Yep. And I'm trying to remember where it is.
Don't get me started because I have very strong opinions on ways.
Right, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess I'd have to look up the email.
I just hang on. I just sat on a oscilloscope. It's on my chair. I don't know how it got here, but I sat on an oscilloscope. Low inductance. Spring tip proby thing. Those those little what are they called? High frequency probe spring tip attachments
the
for your
little,
scope probe.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
like
a little
like
spring
a logic
with a
probe,
sharp,
right?
a sharp pointy out thing.
Like the one where it has like little fingers coming out, like a logic probe. Or
No.
More?
No. This is like it's like a coil of spring wire that goes over your ground tip, and then there's a little sharp point which sticks out, and it's a low inductance probe tip for your scope probe, and it's just stabbed my foot on my chair.
I thought you said it was on your chair. I was thinking it stabbed somewhere else.
Yeah, no, it's stabbed there because I'm actually bare feet, and I'm putting my foot up on the chair here, and Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's annoying. I should tweet a photo of it. Bastard. How it got on my chair in here, I have no idea. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
I'm still looking for this thing. Yeah. But so basically the idea is you can... win a bunch of money. There's a new thing this year, though, that you can also, if you submit, instead of like last year where it was just documentation, this year if you apply to the product side of things, if you submit 3 working prototypes, and get judged on those, you can not only win the main prize, which is the $200,000 or the trip to space, you can also win another $100,000 and then 6 months in the hackerspace, which I've actually seen the plans for. They're building right now, and it's pretty slick space out in Pasadena. So
yeah, but you got to move to Pasadena.
Yeah, I
don't see anyone really taking that up, but okay.
I don't know, man. Pasadena is pretty nice.
Okay, well, I haven't been there. All right, I'm talking out my ass. All right.
No, I mean it is very nice, but I mean from the cost perspective, but I mean if you got $100,000, maybe that's Yeah,
but I'd rather spend the $100,000 on getting my product out than moving to Pasadena, and
Yeah, it'd be up to you, I guess.
Unless they're paying for your accommodation for 6 months unless they're paying your expenses to live in Pasadena for 6 months, which I doubt.
I don't really know about that, actually.
Okay. Right.
I did find... Dave has waffled long enough, though, that I was able to find this document. And actually, no, it's a really interesting thing, too, because it's the 50 breakthrough reports. Basically, the 50 breakthroughs that are necessary to kind of move the whole world forward thing. Of course,
are these breakthroughs being worked on currently, or are they pie in the sky,
No, it's not
things?
It's not like you have to have, space age technology for these things. A lot of them are more like low cost improvements, right? So like low cost refrigeration for vaccine treatments, stuff like that.
Right.
Okay. Like things that are legit problems right now.
And it's from the well-known LIGT group, the Institute for Globally Transformative Technologies at the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. Never heard of them. Yeah. There you go. Anyway.
Well, that's the report I was trying to download.
Right.
Let me see if I can actually get this thing open.
Here we go, the list of 50 breakthroughs. They've got it summarised in a PDF. How nice, on their main page. Very nice. Yeah. Somebody was thinking. All right. Good on you, Sashwa Bulashwa. It's one of the main authors.
Yes. Here we go. Okay, so and they actually have like a grid as well.
Yeah, I see the grid. From simple, feasible, complex, challenging, and extremely challenging. How about bloody impossible? Or...
Right.
Yep. I love it.
So let's see. Desalination, vaccination, electronic textbooks. Obviously, I have a strong feeling about that one from last time. Biometric ID systems, affordable smartphones with full-fledged internet services.
What? Doesn't every single person on the planet have a phone before they have flushing toilets?
Yeah, but it's probably getting to that last. I mean, even I think there's there's 7 billion people on the planet. I think that there's probably not all of them have a smartphone, but basically using that as the balance point for a lot of this stuff. Right. So
anyway, as far as I'm aware, it's like people have a phone before they have a flushing toilet. I kid you not.
Yeah,
that's that's the priority in many countries.
Well, yeah, and I mean they're being used for payment systems, and they're being used for information, and communication, right? I mean, a lot of the times that is the easier, and you can hand someone a phone, you can't hand them a fully, desalinated and safe toilet system. So, did you see that video with Bill Gates from the Gates Foundation when they had the toilet, or rather the water purification?
No, I haven't seen that.
So basically, like, they were, I forget who the inventor was, but basically, like, they did like a waste. You basically dump in raw sewage, and then it does like an evaporative system, and then it like dries out the waste, and the waste basically gets recycled as like a feedstock for buildings, I think, because it's all
right. Buildings.
And it also like I think they burn it off basically to heat the water then. And then the water gets evaporated and then condensed, and then basically that's how they extract water back out of it. And so they showed putting sewage in, and then 5 minutes later, Bill Gates taps water off of it and then takes a sip. Yeah. Yep. It was intense.
Yeah, that's entirely psychological. It's entirely psychological. That.
What do you mean by that?
It's like, if you give people, they've actually done this because they try to put recycled sewage, drinking water, into some communities here in Australia, and my wife's been involved in this, and and they've gone out and asked people to drink this water that they bottled from recycled sewage, and some people just refuse to do it. It's a psychological thing. They go, no, it comes from sewage. There must be something wrong with it.
Yeah, damn the science. I'm not drinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Water.
And that's what we're doing in some of the communities here. They've actually put in recycled sewage drinking water. Right, that's just the way it is, and then people go apeshit once they find out about it. They go, "I've been drinking recycled sewage." Are you, and they go feral.
Well, technically, we all are, right? I mean, like that's kind of the main thing.
Yeah, it's one of those,
Yeah.
But it's entirely psychological. So.
Oh yeah, no, I totally believe that. And, I mean, most of the time, even you think about like just the treatment plants, just the traditional ones. It's like, what do you think those are doing? They're not doing evaporative, but they're doing, they're doing separation, and like they're doing water treatment and stuff like that. So,
I'm not sure about other countries, but at least here in Australia, we go to great efforts to supply potable water for everything, i.e., drinking class water for everything, even for flushing our toilets. It's
interesting.
Like, it is. It's.
I guess
stupid,
we do here too. I mean, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think quite a lot of most
supply,
countries
right?
do. Yeah, it's all common supply
versus grey water type stuff.
Yeah. Whereas, but here in Australia, we actually in some newer communities that they've built, they've installed separate lines. So there's like recycled water and there's the regular potable supply. But even the recycled stuff is actually drinking quality.
Huh.
And people don't realize it costs like 15 times more to produce that recycled water at that level than it does regular water. Anyway, this is getting way off topic.
Yeah, right.
So I just hear a lot about this because the wife used to work for Sydney Water, and
oh, right, of course.
Yeah. She's a water scientist, so she's an expert on these things. So I hear about it all the time.
Yeah, that makes dinner table conversation like
exactly.
Maybe I'll have a beer.
Oh yeah, we're always talking about sewage. Like seriously, like it's sad.
Yeah, so Dave, what did you and the wife talk about? Yeah, usual shit.
Yeah.
Anyways, so this list is good. I mean, and honestly, a lot of this stuff, there are some like very legit like electronics problems in here, which is kind of the main
list them.
main thing.
List the ones that like our audience are most likely to sort of work on. Yeah.
So affordable construction material homes. So things that could be like one of those 3D printer. I don't know if you've seen the 3D printed homes, that kind of thing. Utility in a box is one. So number 10 is utility in a box for basically all-in-one solution for renewable energies type stuff. Let's see.
Can you expand on that? I don't get that.
So like doing like a mini grid in your so basically doing like a battery storage, like a solar cell input battery storage in a low cost system with
in a low
like
cost
minimum.
System. Got it.
Yeah, minimum cost, minimum input.
Got it. That reminds me. Whatever happened to that? Was it Google? Google or Intel? One of the huge big companies. There was a contest to develop a like the world's smallest and most efficient inverter or something. It was. You remember we talked about the time? It was it was like 500 watts in like 2 square inches or something ridiculous. It was like. And there was huge prize money, like $250,000 or something, wasn't there?
We'll have to look that up. I don't know what happened to that. I didn't keep track. But that's what happens sometimes with these.
Yeah, contests. Well, I think it was a long-term contest too. I think it went for like a year, so who knows?
Oh, like an X Prize almost?
Okay. It was like an X Prize kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have to check on that.
Yeah.
Get an update, because that's like right up our alley, so...
Another one was a long-lasting, non-chemical mosquito repellent, basically for like malaria type stuff like that. So I don't know if you ever saw. There was actually a cover of Make where they showed off that box that had lasers that actually detected and shot mosquitoes out of the sky. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Oh, sweet!
I think that might have been Nathan Myhrvold. Who I'm not a huge fan of, but. If he wants to spend his money like that, that's fine.
Yep. Oh, here we go. I found it. It's the Google. They were offering $1 million, and it was a year ago. It was May. It was May 19th, 2014. So it was almost a year ago, coming on to a year. And
so no one did it yet.
I'm having a look. What is it? Details. It doesn't look like. Looks like it's still going according to their front page.
The little box challenge.
The little box challenge.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep going with these.
Oh, here we go. So the last update was January 2016. The grand prize winner will be announced sometime in January 2016. Okay. So the next July 2015 is. Registered teams must submit a technical approach and testing application by July 22nd. So you can still get into this, folks. You can still get into it. Still win $1 million of Google money. And then October, they'll choose 18 finalists. Okay, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
You are required to bring your invention in person to the testing facility in the United States. So... Can you imagine if someone from like North Korea or something entered and they're like, I want to bring my power solution to the United States.
Why not, man?
Okay. Awesome.
Anyways, all these other ones. I mean, so the thing is, a lot of these solutions, at least on this list, a lot of it is, the big focus is, low cost. Okay.
Right, because low cost because these things are needed for the developed world, the developing world.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
And a lot of it's also chemical and medical and stuff like that. So there are going to be some restrictions in that stuff. But it's honestly, it's a great list. Everything that's in here, you can definitely see, having really wide-reaching effects. A lot of it's still, the human aspect of getting this stuff distributed, and the whole international aid type stuff kind of sucks.
It's pretty much all humanitarian focused, isn't it? I'd say 90% of them are sort of, humanitarian kind of.
Yeah. Well, and you look at Gates Foundation is a great example.
Underlying cause, yeah.
They fix. They were working on so many things, but the things that they're doing, they have some research going on, but it's not like a ton of deep science research. Right. It's more like distribution of different things. It's basically rolling out low cost solutions to wide swath of people because they want to affect as much change as they can overall. Right. That's the hard part. Is just the distribution side of things. Logistics again, right?
Exactly. Yeah. How do you get it there? How do you get it cheap? How do you power it? I see in the list here they're asking for solar powered medical thingamabobs. I've lost it. Solar-powered medical
like a refrigeration?
devices.
Like
I don't know, something like that. Anyway, because why? Because, well, you have to take these into the remote communities that may not have power, so to actually run all these things. So, yeah, they've got to be like self-contained. And, interesting.
Yeah, I forget what I don't know if it was Gibson or someone else. I mean, there was some technology sci-fi type writer who basically talks about. He's like the future already exists. It's just not widely available to people.
Right?
That's paraphrased, but of course, this stuff is like talking about a lot of these things. It's 100-watt solar panel can make a huge difference in rural Africa.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And then you have like scale differences, like stuff that is interesting to us. Widely available Bluetooth, right? Like that's ridiculous. Like all these stupid gadgets that we have, a lot of them are not necessary. But it's the hard stuff is the low cost, widely distributed stuff that needs to get out there, and then motivating. There's not a lot of profit motive there either. So that's another big thing. So.
Oh, here we go. Number 38, low cost, under $50, wearable or otherwise easily concealable camera with automatic geocoding and timestamps capable of SOS data preservation. What? Via satellite? What?
That's, probably for
what the hell's that for?
Remote monitoring of like war areas, stuff like that.
Right.
If you can capture.
Oh, okay, yeah, capture crimes taking,
Yeah, exactly, like crimes against humanity type thing.
Right. Okay.
I mean, this is like some real stuff, right? This is really real.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're talking about. It will likely lead to greater levels of documentation of human rights violations. Got it. Yeah, because if you're in the middle of Iraq or something, and you see something bad going down, you can't whip out your digital SLR and right, because somebody's going to shoot
it
you
in time and
right.
Right.
So that's interesting. See, this is what.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, the hardest part about a lot of this stuff is just is scale, right? So even if you take out the distribution piece, they're talking about sub $50. You don't get to that when you're buying a $10 chip. You have
there's a few sub $50 items in here when they talk about low cost.
Right.
Yeah, they've mentioned that.
And I think some of that's just going to be novel solution, right? Like doing more with less is always kind of the interesting thing, but there are limits to that too. Just you have to get scale sometimes to get the low cost.
Yeah, you're probably not gonna do this by just surfing the DigiKey website and going, I'll choose that chip, and bang, there's your solution. It's like otherwise someone would have already done it, right? It needs some, novel left field
even just
thinking.
From the perspective of using an off the shelf solution, that's probably not going to be it either, just because it's going to be you have to have some kind of fundamental change in how you detect something or act upon something. And usually if it's off the shelf, it already would have been done, Yep. That's always the downside.
Exactly. So give up hope,
good luck,
people.
Everyone.
Don't enter. There's everything that's been invented has already been invented, right?
No, I think that's actually the opposite of the point, Dave.
Yeah, I know.
It's try harder, find new things.
No, I'm doing the old patent joke, the turn of the 19th century, turn of the 20th century patent joke, when the head of the US Patent Office said everything that has been invented can be invented has been invented.
Right.
The patent office will go out of business.
Right.
Oops. All right. Speaking of reinvention.
What I can't wait to hear what you say about this.
There's a new USB standard in town. Look out. Woohoo. Finger twirl.
Well, I think this actually could have quite a big impact.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I tweeted that we needed another USB. We needed another connector standard like we need another religion, it's just, no, we don't.
Well, maybe another set of cables for sure, right? That's the big thing. I saw they were talking about. So this is all coming from, an Apple announcement about using the USB-C.
Yeah.
And And they're talking about how like environmentally friendly their new laptop is, and then someone tweeted a picture of the big pile of cables they have to throw out. It's just like,
well,
net, you know?
Yeah. See, well, this is the thing that rubbed me the wrong way. Like the first time I really heard about this was just this morning with this Apple thing, right? Because somebody tweeted some Apple shit or something, right? Yep. Anyway, there's all these news stories about Apple's new notebook uses the USB-C connector. It's called, which is the new USB 3.1. something standard, right?
Right.
And we'll go into technical details in a minute, possibly. But a thing that just pissed me off was that, like, A, it's trying to do everything, right, in the one connector, as we'll talk about, and B, it's the only connector on the entire Apple MacBook, is it not? And they've got one of them. So their whole plan is, because this connector is so wonderful and can do everything, including, wash your dishes and everything else, it's, you can just have an adapter for it, So you're going to have to carry around like 50 different freaking adapter cables to plug in all your things, because they've only decided to put one port on there.
Yeah.
Fail. Right.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily the USB connector new standard itself. It was more the fact that they only put one on the entire notebook, thinking, well, because that's all you need, surely, because the connector can do everything. What does it do? It charges up to 100 watts, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
like that's
20 volts at 5 amps, yep.
Yeah, so that's an order of magnitude increase from the 10 watts on the USB 3, the new USB 3 power standard, right? So it's 10 times more. And it can do Thunderbolt type speed. So what is it, 10 gigabits per second? But
10 gig.
Apple are limiting it to 5 or something. Maybe there's some practical limitations there. Yeah, you can't just buy your dodgy cables off eBay and expect them to get 5 gigabits per second, folks, let me tell you. And what else does it do?
That would actually be quite a big problem, is if you had poorly matched cables or something. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be like
down.
Your data slows down. It's like you don't have data.
Yeah. Well, it's just like the USB 3. It's not just the new physical connector itself. It is the protocols behind it, like the multi-tiered protocols. As you said, I don't think it just drops. It's okay. It can't talk at 5 gigabits per second. It doesn't just then drop down to 10 megabits USB 2 or 1. There are like many tiers in there, and it's all super intelligent and all that.
Yeah, because they'll have to be backwards compatible and stuff like that too, right? I mean, it's got to be. Yeah, crazy.
Well, apparently, yes, it's backward compatible to USB, all the previous USB standards.
I don't know why you're mad about this, though, Dave.
If you've got the adapter cable, I don't know. I think
honestly, I actually am very excited about this. One, because of the high power. Right, that quite excites me. Yeah, and I mean the speed of the thing. I'm not going to utilize that for my personal stuff.
No, but I know I can get it from a technical point of view. Totally, totally.
Yeah, the bidirectional. Excuse me, the brokering between stuff. Like once that's integrated between phones, that means that here's the crazy thing about this, right? So we've been working on the system side of things in contextual electronics and stuff like that, talking between a device and a phone and stuff like that. And there's only so many ways you can talk to these days. But once a phone has this, and once a computer has this, and once devices on board have this, it's game over. Everything. I mean, not practically. I get that not practically everything can talk to everything, but everything has the potential of talking to everything without needing a connector difference. And from a part buying perspective, right? We should probably talk about electronics at some point. From a part buying perspective, good Lord. I mean, like, if there's only USB Type-C connectors from now on,
I know. Yeah,
praise the Lord.
It's
that
the
is
Holy
the
Grail,
worst,
right? But they've tried the Holy Grail before, right? They've tried the Holy Grail before, and
with what?
It just creates another standard, There's the XKCD comic, the famous XKCD comic about, the N+1 connector. Have you seen that?
No, I don't think so.
I'll link it. Hang on, I'll get it. It's here. Somebody tweeted it to me, and
but I mean, you're saying that this. I mean, okay, so I get. I mean, I think that we're converging. That's what I ultimately come down to, right? I mean, like,
right.
Even just from when we started seeing integration, and honestly, this is what excites me about this is that it's part of a large scale commercial product, right? Obviously, Apple is. For better or for worse, it is a large scale commercial product, so that means it's going to be widely adopted.
So they are a driver of
exactly.
They are a driver of adoption.
Just like I mean, so in the past, like so Europe actually instituted the mandate for USB micro on phones as the only chargers allowed. That was a huge thing as well.
Yes, and then Apple said, well, flipped the bird and said, screw you.
Okay, yeah, that was crappy, but
right, yeah.
I don't actually know how they got away with that, but everybody else went to micro, right? And then like micro was it for a couple years, right? I mean, like mini's still around, but I think a lot of that's kind of just dragged along.
Micro, I love everything that's standardized with micro. I that's my buying decision. Does your product have micro USB charging? Right, that is I've standardized on practically everything.
Right, when you're in a shitty situation, you need to borrow it. Like that's nothing worse than like, oh, I don't have that connector, and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
It's just like so. I think everything about this is good except for the fact that Apple takes their position. Yeah, exactly. Well, they often take their scale position and they bastardize it for profit. Right, that's the downside to it. Right. But from the scale side of it,
will they put in their phones? That's the interesting question because they will have to. Well, they may not have to abandon, but they'll have to abandon their Apple connector. Right?
Yeah, the lightning connector. Yeah.
Is it? Is that
honestly,
what it's called? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't...
Right?
I don't... Honestly, like, how does this stuff happen, right? Like, thinking about, like, all of the protocols that are out there and even this XKCD thing, it's always going to be... There's always going to be people that stand up and say, I'm the new standard, right? But in this case, at least it's tied to the USB standard. Hopefully it doesn't get bastardized too bad, and hopefully the adoption rolls out to the point where it can start to converge a little bit more, right? It's kind of just steps. Right. Obviously, you're always going to have stuff dragged along, right? I mean, there's still stuff that uses old connectors.
This is the thing, right? Let's say Apple make the bold move and the next iPhone that comes out will just have this connector on it, right? Okay. As it should do if they're taking it seriously, right?
Yes, agreed.
And then, what do the other phone manufacturers do, right? Because they're only manufacturing phones, right? They don't have like an ecosystem of products like Apple, right? The new MacBooks got
Samsung
it now,
probably
right?
does, but
maybe
tablets
right? They got tablet-y
phones.
things.
Yeah,
Whatever, right? Yeah. But let's take the phone manufacturers, right? They've just standardized on the micro USB. Everyone's got micro USB for charging their mobile phone, and they want to change it again. Are they going to change?
Right.
It's going to piss a lot of people
factor,
off,
right? I mean, that's always the lag factor that ends up hurting. Yeah, for that kind of thing.
And I know that would piss me off because if I had to go buy a new phone, I go, it's got the new USB-C standard, but I'm totally invested in everything USB, everything micro USB. Why should I have to change?
I'll tell you why I would do it. It's 100 watts, man. Like that's.
I know. I totally agree. There's some very compelling reasons, but there's also compelling reasons not to move to it.
You start to get limited by how fast your battery can even charge at that point.
I know. It's
a heat problem. It's like
I know. It's your phone can't charge that fast because the battery technology isn't
just
there,
like the amount of power that it can hold. Even is
And that may be another technical reason why some phone manufacturers won't switch to it because it's pointless, right? Because it pisses everyone off who's just standardized on the USB, on the micro USB. Yeah, okay, but hey, if you want this thing to be adopted, everyone has to change, right? So they're at a point. Well, the extra power in this connector is useless because this phone cannot physically charge any faster. The battery in this phone. The technology is not there. It's going to heat up too much. It's going to, it's just not possible thermally inside this. It's always going to get you. And so they might go, well, there's no other compelling reason to change. So we're going to stick with USB 2. We're going to stick with the micro USB, right? And that's the problem here is that it's physically not a compatible connector. That's if it was physically compatible like the USB 3 was, right? Physically backward compatible. You can just plug it in, right? Then it's a given, right? Everyone would have it. But yep.
I don't know, man.
But, I agree. Technically, it's fantastic. I would love everything to have this. But
we should bring up the obvious one as well, that it can't go in backwards. That's the other nice thing.
Yes, it can go in
because
it's
it brokers
bi-directional.
lines. It's that's really the least of my issues.
How do they do that? I haven't physically looked at the construction inside it yet. I haven't.
I think the construction is simple, but it's just like a signaling and basically tugging on lines type of thing.
How many pins in it? And is it like multi-stacked? Like are there pins behind pins and all that sort of jazz?
So looking at, it looks like 12 pairs just from this breakout board that I'm looking at
12
on the CNET
pairs,
article.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's tiny. This thing is tiny. It's the size of a micro USB, but it's it can do 100 watts.
Yeah, this is small pitch. This is definitely small pitch.
So there's got to be some big ass copper contacts in there for that power. So are they behind the signal lines? Where are they?
You're asking the
Where
wrong
are
guy,
they physically? Because you're not going to get 100 watts through 10
right. You're not going to do the shell
pairs, right?
You're not going to do the shell at that much current as well, because it's 20 volts at 5 amps. The 20 volts is actually the impressive thing because of just spacing needs. I mean, I guess it's not that much spacing.
That's how they're getting the power, right? They couldn't do this at 5 volts. You wouldn't physically be able to get the current through the connector.
Right. Just because of resistance. You'd have to use superconductor connectors.
That's why they've had to. That's why they've had to go to a higher voltage because, higher, Ohm's law, higher voltage, less current. So 5 amps. 5 amps is pushing it in a connector of this size, right? That's really pushing the boundaries, right? So I would actually love to see the current stats after the. Apparently, this thing's rated for 10,000 cycles, so they claim. But I would love to see it still transfer 5 amps after 10,000 cycles. I would.
Oh, you think just because of if there's like gold rubbing and stuff like that?
Yeah, I have lots of experience in multiple thousand wipe contacts, and that's a big part of the industry I come from. And actually testing that and building automated test jigs to measure this sort of stuff, I've done that. And dude, gold wears off, like after.
Yeah.
Right, every time you cycle that thing, it's 30 micron
30
gold.
micro inches. Yeah.
30 micron, even real expensive 30 micron or 50 micron gold plated stuff it wears out. I mean, it just does. It's
It's not. That's micro inches actually. It's not micron.
Micro, whatever. Yeah.
Micron is not much. Micro inches isn't much either, but usually it goes gold flash, which is like 2 or 3 micro inches, 10, and then 30. Yeah, I think.
Whatever. Anyway,
I did a lot of connector research back in the day.
Yep.
So, so yeah, no, but you're totally right. I mean, and you have to get the highest end in order to get reliably that high count stuff, high count insertions. You need to get up in the 30 micro inches, so that ups the cost and everything too. So,
right. So what's the bottom line for me? It's of course I think it's technically awesome, and I'd love it if every single product on the market used it instantly, and we just all change over and everything.
It's a period of adoption that's going to be painful.
I just I can. It wouldn't surprise me if it died out. That's what I'm saying. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't think it will.
I think it will
eventually catch on. I think it'll eventually catch on, but I think it's going to be extremely painful.
Maybe. I don't know, man. Don't underestimate the power of marketplace with that kind of thing, because if they do push it into everything.
People who buy a new phone every 9 months, right? I'm just a Luddite who buys a new phone every 3 or 4 years.
If you're gonna be that guy that follows trends, or not follows trends, but is a late adopter, you're gonna save money, but you're gonna have less of this kind of stuff. Just like the people on the front edge of it pay a lot more and have a lot more problems, but then they get the benefits when it does start to stabilize. So
now, taking bets. Now,
okay,
will Apple abandon their Lightning connector or whatever you called it that they've so religiously clung to in the face of world opinion. They've got, screw you, we're going to keep this connector for all time. It's the world's greatest freaking connector. Are they going to suddenly go, nope, USB 3C, and every single Apple product is only going to use that?
I have to say, I don't care.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't affect me at all because that's no. And what I'm saying is I don't care because it doesn't affect me.
Yes.
I don't that's never going to get adopted, right? It can't because they won't allow it to.
We're industry commentators. Come on.
We're wonks.
We're wonks? What are wonks?
Yeah. Yeah, wonks are
What's a wonk?
I always hear it referred to like policy wonks or like politics, but like people who are like analysts and stuff like that.
Okay.
I think that's the term.
Not a term I've heard before. Anyway.
Type in wonks into Google and it says, did you mean Wonka?
Wonka. Willy Wonka.
Person who knows a lot about the details of a particular field and often talks a lot about that subject. Except for that whole knows a lot about it. We do talk about it a lot, Dave.
Yeah, we do talk about it a lot. I personally don't see Apple hedging their bets and putting both connectors on their next iPhone. That's very un-Apple-like in its simplicity, in its elegance, right? So I reckon they're either going to stick to their Apple connector on the phones or they're going to change one way.
I have to say, I'm not going to bet on that stuff. I mean, I'd probably agree with you if anything. I hate that I watched the event. I watched the entire event. The whole Apple event. I hate that it is an event.
You just watched it and then punched yourself in the face afterwards. Is that what you know?
I don't know why I did. I'm not excited about the stupid watch. I think that's stupid. I just did. I just turned it on and I did. It was dumb. I mean, there was some interesting stuff there, right? They talked about the construction of the new MacBook. That was cool. It looked like they're using Altium and they shrunk the board and stuff like that. And
that's totally fascinating stuff to us. I
mean, from a manufacturing perspective, I guess on the watch they talked about machining of the cases. That was cool. But I don't care about the end products. They're just it's like cars. I don't care about cars.
Right, yeah.
Whatever's cheapest and will run the longest. Then I'll take one of those.
That's it. That's it. Here's the interesting thing about Apple, though, right? I think they're like a $700 billion company, is it, at the moment? $800 billion.
I don't know.
They're approaching $1 trillion. They're on their way. I'm sure that's their goal, is to become the world's first $1 trillion company or something. I don't think it's happened before. I could be wrong. I'm sure someone will correct me. But anyway, right, so they're getting there, right? And they cannot do that continuing to sell, well, they've never sold low-cost products, right? But continuing to sell even sort of medium to high-end price products. They have to go for the luxury market. They have to, because somebody I read did the math on this. You would need for them to make any significant inroads on top of a significant improvement on their current income stream, right, which is so huge. They would need every single middle class person in America and other countries to buy their new $1,500 widget, even if they release a $1,500 product. They need every single person of buying age in the country to actually buy it, right, to make any significant improvement. That's how big this company is and why it's totally pointless for Apple to make either a low-cost or a medium or even a high-price product. So that's why they're moving into, that's why they're selling a $10,000 watch. And they're talking about selling, a $5,000 TV or something. I don't know the price, but they're moving into luxury TVs. They're looking at moving into cars, right? Yeah. There's all this rumor that Apple are, imminent, they're working on the Apple car, right? Because it's a luxury item, just like a Tesla, right? Is a luxury item. It's for basically people who are rich, right? And that's the only way Apple can continue to grow is by
this is the exact opposite of what we were talking about with that list of 50 things that need to happen. This is a good contrast. Yeah,
it is totally opposite, worlds apart. And that can be that can be the title of our. I'm sure our title of the show can be something
Worldly
like
that. Wonks. Yeah.
Apple is worlds apart from the humanitarian need or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, of course it is.
And that's the only way they can grow. And it's companies that big. That's their only future. That's their only future.
And in the past,
apparently.
we've talked like Bunny's written about how he's followed iPhone trends just for finding cheap components, and
right.
And I've talked. I know I've talked about, but I've seen articles, and they, and we've talked about how they just buy up entire fabs worth of stuff, and it's just unfortunately it drives the industry, right? For better or worse, it does. It's just because of scale, and
and they have to. We've explained this on the blog before, but for people who have missed it, Apple have so much cash. They have so much cash. They can't invest enough of it to, they can't invest in enough things. So what they do is they, as Chris just said, they buy up fabs worth of chips. They buy up 5-year stocks worth of chips,
right.
And they pay
stuff that hasn't been made yet.
Yeah, and they just buy up all the inventory because that is actually a greater return on their investment. It gives them a 15-20% return on their investment. Right? Yeah. If you buy, because you're buying so much stock, you can get it at such a cheap price that no other, even the Samsungs of the world can't match, right?
Oh, what do you think they're buying from,
yeah, okay, right. But you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So even
because
the
every
other
company
major
will
players can't do.
They'll take cash today over cash tomorrow.
Of course they will. So they will take cash, so somebody like, Maxim or National Semiconductor, right? They will fall over themselves to practically, whatever, right? to practically give away their chips to Apple if Apple give them all this cash now, So that's a way for Apple to invest their cash and actually get, because they're getting a 15-20% discount or whatever, they're effectively earning 15-20%
the payday
on their
lenders
cash.
of the electronics industry.
They are, yeah, exactly. So that's better than sticking their money in the stock market, which might go up 10% a year. It's actually or investing in other things. That's how they invest their money, is by just buying stock, and that's why they
own
the market.
It's good to be
king. That's right. Yeah. I'm still waiting for that throne of cash that you've said you'll sit on, Yep. Maybe it can be made out of gold bricks from Apple watches, from disused Apple watches when they, break in 5 years' time.
I think we need to talk about something else or I'll start getting angry.
Anyway.
Like I said,
show's almost up. All right, let's talk about something else.
Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that comes out of it that isn't irrelevant to us. But
you're still talking about it. Still talking about it.
Yeah, sorry. What else is on our list?
Nothing, because we're out of time.
We're not out of time.
Oh, we're just blowing a whole hour talking about freaking Apple and saving the world. There you go.
Yeah.
How that can be the title: How Apple Won't Save the World.
Yeah. Oh, this is a big one, actually. Speaking of big companies and big things happening, we didn't catch it last week, but NXP and Freescale. NXP bought Freescale effectively.
Yes, of course. Well, they're entering into negotiations. They've announced it. I don't think it has money changed hands yet. I haven't followed it since the initial.
No, that stuff never happens right away. But
right.
But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't have it to hand. What is it? It's
so they say it's a $40 billion merger, but really it's
$40 billion merger.
It's like
no,
NXP.
it's a buyout. It's not a merger. They always say merger. It's bullshit.
Right.
Freescale bought NXP bought Freescale.
Right, for like $13
billion. In cash or something, wasn't it? Or script?
Right.
Was it cash or script?
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Anyway,
but they're buying. So Freescale does have chip fabs and stuff like that, and NXP does as well. But yeah, it's. This is the consolidation, right? Obviously, this is more consolidation in the industry. This is Freescale's going away, folks. They're going to say, there's always we'll maintain, but it's just never, unless they change the name to something else. But then technically, Freescale and NXP are going away. NXP used to be Philips, so it's not like this is a new thing.
Yeah, right. There's a very interesting commentary on this from Vincent Himpy, who we've had on the show before, and of course he's ex-ST Micro, so he's been involved in the semiconductor industry, so he's really up on it. He put a great post on the EV blog forum. We'll have to try and find the link for it somewhere, and he explains how this is why he left the semiconductor. I mean, he got a good job at Tesla, but this is the reason he left, because they're in their death throes, right? these semiconductor giants we're so used to just cannot survive without doing this, without merging, and they just can't compete with the large scale fabs like the TSMCs and stuff like that. They just can't do it.
And that's the big thing is the the fabless model versus the foundry model. Those are the two things. TSMC is a foundry.
That's right.
Other ones are I guess Intel's a foundry. That's my prediction. That's always been my prediction, is that I think eventually Intel will end up splitting off into a foundry specifically, just because they're so far ahead of the process side of things.
Okay.
That I think they'll become a foundry eventually and maybe call it something else, but still keep their fabless. So I don't make predictions not as often as Dave does, but that's definitely that's what I see happening in the future. So yeah,
he used the example of, which was an excellent example, I think, from memory. I'm going from here about chipsets for mobile phones and stuff. Like integrated Wi-Fi. Like how modern phones have everything integrated into the one chip, right?
Yeah.
And that needs like bleeding edge process technology, right? And that's actually something that the established foundry companies can't do, like your NXPs and your Freescales, right, who operate their own fabs. They can't invest enough money. They're dragging along using their older fabs, even though they're still pretty awesome fabs, right? But they're in terms of the pace of modern innovation. So it's easier for a startup fabless company to come along, buy, spend a couple of $1 million on their Cadence design tools, design the chip, and then bang, get it made by TSMC, and they dominate the market for that integrated chip. And so they can. This is how a couple of $1 million startup can come and beat the Freescales and the NXPs of the world. Right.
Well, I think he referenced that Wi-Fi chip that's kind of everywhere. The is it ESP something? It's like a serial to Wi-Fi kind of chip that's out there.
Right.
And I think he was referencing that basically. Even though it's not full scale yet, it's just like it's just it'll get there.
Yeah, and it won't
innovation comes from the bottom up, right? It's just like
and it will not come from. That's the thing. It will not come from Freescale, NXP, etc., because they don't have the fabs to do it.
Right. Well, even Freescale, I knew things were in trouble. So I know the guy. I know the local rep guy here, and he was so excited when they started making ARM stuff. And I looked at him. I'm like, dude, I know it's exciting. I know you're making new things, but you can't survive. You can't.
I know.
You can't. You can't normalize. You're going to sell more chips, but if you normalize with the rest of the industry, you commoditize yourself. Before they had, these other lines, they had the Core IQ. I mean, they still have those things, but then Cold Fire stuff like that, which were industry standard, industrial chips that a lot of people standardized on. And it's if you're okay doing that for a long time, and obviously I don't know their financials, but if you do that for a long time and you have a steady revenue stream, you could just keep going. But if you're forced to grow a couple times, and if you have this forced growth like that, which I think they did because they got bought and sold once or twice to private capital, you lose everything that's once you normalize to everyone else, you're competing on price, and well, good luck with that. It's just unless you're the biggest and you define the price, you're screwed,
Yep.
So that's a drag. Because I don't want to see Freescale go away. I mean, they make good parts.
No,
they make good stuff.
I know. Yep.
You could say they're not going away, but come on.
No, it's a buyout. It's not a merger. It's a buyout. They'll be gone. Yep. Right.
Well, and what that ultimately means is same thing happened. Even though when TI bought National Semiconductor too, it's yes, I get that you're going to have, you're a bigger company now. You still need a certain number of engineers, but you don't need double of everyone. I'm sorry, you just don't. And
I know.
You could say that you're going to keep everyone for as long as you want to, but eventually some, starry-eyed MBA graduate comes out and says, "No, found some fat to trim," and then see you later. It's just, and because they should, right? It's business. I mean, that's what they're there for.
Of course, that's what they're there for. No, business are not charities. They're there to make a bottom line for the shareholders. That's it. End of story.
Full stop.
Yeah.
So that and all I can really think about that is just okay, well, that sucks that there's less. well, I guess what it ultimately comes down to. So actually, I always ask for questions on Twitter. We always forget to answer them. We covered some of them this week, but Jen asked, "What do we see in 5, 10 years?" Just kind of like, what's the 5, 10, 20 years? What do we see? And when you look at trends like this, it's like, well, I guess you'll have like research labs and like you'll have ARM continuing to push out, fabless design, stuff like that, and the people will buy them and stuff like that, and that'll drive technology forward. But there's not going to be as much competition, like it's just, I don't see it happening when you have these huge companies. And what does that end up meaning? I mean, it's just
it's a very open question too. Like you can't.
Of course, but I'm just saying,
you've got to get into specifics,
right? But if before there was, maybe 20 choices for a chip, and then in the future it's just like you go to that one place for the chip, and then is there as much incentive for the companies to change that one chip when they're making money on that one chip, right? That's always it feels like it's always the one end game. Is like when there's one winner. When they win, it's what happens then. Then all there is the starry-eyed MBAs just optimizing for cost, and that's all that's left.
Yeah, but that's never gonna. I can't see that ever happening because we're moving to the fabless model, right? Which was, as we said, right. Any startup can come along and develop a world-beating chip that becomes the world standard in something.
Name one. Name one.
Name
one that's done that so far.
Oh, come on. Look, there's
Name
lots
the newest
of these
FPGA you've heard about. Like it's just like
true, right.
I mean, like, and I'm sure that like they could be working on it in China or in other places and labs that I don't know about, but I'm just saying it hasn't happened yet, so we can plan for it. But
they're usually companies you've never heard of because they're going into these consumer things. You open up these modern mobile phones and they're using chips that from companies you've never bloody well heard of.
Right.
It's just
Shenzhen Semiconductor number 4, right? It's like
exactly. Happy-go-lucky chip
Yeah, I mean, but what? I mean, I come from an industrial background. That doesn't work for me.
Totally. We're both from the industrial background, so we're
right. The focus on consumer
totally different needs.
is fun, but it's like you can't shoehorn everything into that, right? I mean, maybe you can. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe GE's whole 50 trillion devices each with an Ethernet port as a that's the future they see, and it's like maybe that's the answer, and maybe those are all consumer level, and you just throw them out when they're done, and they self-destruct or something. But I don't know.
Has electronics changed over the last 30 years? I don't see that. I'm still doing the same. But overall,
yes.
Overall, we're still doing very similar things in a similar way to what we did before.
Come on, Dave.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Using a lot of tape to tape out your PCBs these days, or your chips?
But come on. But we're still using humans to lay out boards just like we used to. Yeah, the technology's changed. We're still soldering parts onto
BJT-based devices into your
come on,
ECL?
seriously,
you do a lot
right?
of ECL?
Come on. You have to agree with me on this, right? If you let me explain it. We are still, we're still laying out boards. We're still manufacturing FR4 bloody, fiberglass PCBs. We're soldering components onto them, right? They're chips. Yeah, like the packages have gotten smaller, all that sort of jazz. We're still using passive
carbon-based life forms.
Exactly. Everything's still the same. We're still buying catalog parts at the, we're still got the distributors that we're dealing with. We've still got this. We've still got... Well, nothing's inherently changed. Just the components have got its smaller, greater capability, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, we're still making products in the electronics industry exactly the same way we always have.
I'd expect something different from a guy who does teardowns every week, but...
they're the same teardown every week,
If you zoom out far enough, I guess so...
Exactly.
I don't think I'm going to agree with you on this one, Dave. But what is ultimately what is the point you're getting to? You're saying that it's not that different. There's always been consolidation, like that kind of idea.
Oh well, no. It comes back to the question: who was it asked on Twitter, right? What things are going to change in the next 15, 20 years? Probably nothing. We'll still be making things the same way. Yeah, technology is going to get better. but we'll still be soldering parts onto our boards and buying from DigiKey or whoever's the next catalog distributor and getting parts from the distributors and using our CAD tools to lay out boards and
maybe, yeah.
It's not like we're going to move to organic bloody PCBs and
printed
neural based circuits that work with synapses and all that. It's just going to stay the same. It's just going to get trickier.
Well, folks, tune in again next week to see if electronics has changed significantly in the next week. Because Dave says 20 years from now, not so much.
Or just look in that Apple, the photos of that Apple notebook you've done. Well, what's different? It's got a PCB. It's got the new USB connectors soldered, center mass on the edge of the PCB, which pokes out the side of the case. Nothing's bloody changed. I was doing that 30 years ago.
Yeah, dude, but that entire laptop is batteries. That's the difference. I mean, maybe batteries haven't changed in 30 years, but...
yeah, they have, right? But I'm saying the technology, we're still, as engineers, we're still doing basically the same job we always have.
Okay, so I'm trying... I'm not agreeing with you still, but I'm trying to wrap my head around what you're saying. You're saying that if I woke up... So basically, because our job as electronic designers is pick part, hook part together with other parts, manufacture
test,
with said part,
get into production, code, do the bill of materials, do the whole, all that job. And we'll still be doing that in 15, 20 years' time. Of course we will be. I don't see it changing. Come on, the only way it's going to change is if we have freaking chip printers, or we move to, as I said, organics or board printers, or something like that, or auto routers just suddenly magically work, and we can just wave our hands.
You shut your mouth, sir. I got my new T-shirt that Star made. She made a new revision of the Never Trust the Auto Router. It's great.
Cool. I haven't seen it.
Oh, no, I'll post a picture. I posted on Twitter, but yeah.
Is it available for sale yet?
It was on Teespring, but it could probably recycle if it'll probably refire, that kind of thing.
Right.
It's pretty good.
Anyway. Anyway, so there you go.
Okay, so Dave predicts 20 years from now, we will all still be buying parts and soldering them down. Yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't know. I've only been in it 10 years, so...
Right. Okay. I've been in a tad longer.
I don't think so, Dave. Sorry, man. I mean,
right. Well, what do you think's going to change? Come on.
I mean, yes, you're right that the basic. That's like saying. What's a good analogy here?
It's still a valid point.
That's like saying the guy that drove a carriage is the same thing as a guy that's driving an Uber today, right? And it's like. Yeah,
it is. It is because we don't have self-driving cars, right? That would be a game changer.
But I bet you, dollars to donuts that the guy in the carriage would have given anything for a suspension system and a radio, and an iPhone, if you use the
car analogy, right? It's this Google model where nobody, we all have self-driving cars and we don't own them anymore, right? That would be a complete change. That would be
the upset. Yeah, right.
Okay, what's the equivalent in electronics?
I think the equivalent would be everybody buys a uni device, right? It would be like the same device with a huge. No, I get what I'm saying right now, but I'm just saying that would be the thing. Would be like this board. What's his name? Steve, who's been on the show, posted about this Zinc board because I think he's at Xilinx now. So the Z-Turn board, right? It's like it's got a Zinc processor on it, which has a dual A9, and it's got 28,000 logic cells and a crap load of memory and a bunch of stuff for $99. And it's like you just buy that thing, and you just go code, and then only the code, between the firmware and the software that you write on top of that. That's what makes the product different. The case and
that concept works so well at Altium.
I get what you're saying, but that would be the long term. That would be the analogy. I don't agree with it.
Yeah,
I don't.
Exactly. Then, okay. Then you agree with me. Things aren't going to change much, right?
No, I know. I think things are going to change a crap load. They're just not going to change like that. I don't know, man.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Technology is going to get jazzier. Packaging is going to get jazzier. Everything else is going to get jazzier. But there's no fundamental changes on the horizon. I don't see it.
I don't want to get into it, but I was driving in the car the other day, and you know what I did? I hit the steering wheel. I was at a stop sign. I hit the steering wheel. And I said, "Damn it! There might be a chip printer someday." I know we don't want to talk about this, but like honestly, you get to that point, that dystopian future of like, there's one chip vendor, right? And what choice do you have? I mean, even if you like downgrade, I mean, it's not going to be a chip printer, of course not, but it's going to be.
Hey, he admits it.
Hey, we still got the bet. The bet's still going. But whatever it is, I mean, like once you run out of solutions like that, people are going to find some other way around it. I don't know what it's going to look like, but what I'm trying to say, Dave, is you're an old codger, and you're going to be wrong at some point.
Maybe, but I don't see it in the next. What was she talking about on Twitter? Like,
she has 5, 10, 20 years.
5, 10, 20. Even 20 years out, I don't see it.
20 years from now, we're still going to be buying parts and soldering them down.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I don't see any other solution. I mean,
exactly.
I think the more likely thing would be there'd be so few places to go on the, because of the lead inductance on parts and stuff like that. Eventually, you move to the point where the only thing that is possible is silicon design, right? That's the only place you can really innovate in the first place.
Yep.
And then there's so few. You need such scale that you have to basically, again, you buy some kind of module-based system like that, and then everybody kind of goes off that. I don't think that's going to happen either, but I think in terms of
that modular thing has been the dream
I know.
Since the dawn of time, and it's never happened, never will.
But
horses for courses, you need the right tool for the job is always going to be better than some universal tool.
No, I totally agree with that. I have trouble seeing what the ultimate would be otherwise, right? And I think that in terms of like product differentiation,
that's why I'm calling it now. That's why I'm calling it that. I still see things the same in 20 years' time.
Yeah. This is an old man's game. This is the I told you so game. Well, of course, Dave's so much healthier than me. He's probably going to live a good 50 years past where I will, but but still, the point is, I don't know, man.
The point is, you're going to agree with me eventually.
My memory's
going.
My memory's going. No, I think that the point is that, like, you run out of, and this is a trend we've seen, is that you run out of places to innovate in the hardware differentiation, and the only place you can differentiate is in the silicon, right? So
right, but then it's still silicon,
Right. Well, yeah, and I mean, then we all just become. I mean, I've always said that I'm more of a pro shopper than a pro designer, right? It's about finding the right part,
right? Yeah.
And then integrating that.
because
Mixed with other stuff.
We're not. It's rare that we have to design everything with discrete transistors. It's not like like an actual designer from that aspect of I'm going to do this new 100-watt RF transmitter. I'm going to do it with all discrete bloody transistors, and they're going to be all
matching
NPN
and everything else, and size and packaging and the lead inductance and all that other crap that you have to do when you have packaging, right? I mean, that was just there because that was the only choice, and now the choice is, you can integrate it, and you can buy, you can buy an ARM core, like you can just go sign an agreement with ARM and get a design.
We have to finish the show, but I was just having an interesting email chat with hopefully something I'll get in the mailbag eventually, but it was motor drive controllers, right? Humble motor drive controllers, right? But they're incredibly advanced these days, and the guy was showing, he works at a company I won't name, but anyway, they make these really advanced motor controls, and the technology that goes in to the manufacture of the hybrids that goes into these things is phenomenal. And I said, and the thermal performance and they gunk everything up and they do everything else and they bond wise. And I go, well, why didn't you just design like that they actually, this huge corporation buys the modules from somebody else. And I go, well, why didn't you just make the discrete transistors, put in the discrete transistors yourself and, thermally bond them and do your own heatsink solution and blah, 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 all the rest, right? Why didn't you do it yourself? And he said, because these things have to be done, these modules have to be done in a clean room environment. It's how they get the performance out of them and the silicon matching, and then they've got to gunk them all and the bond wires. And it was like
repeatability and testing and all that other stuff.
Repeatability and all that sort of stuff. We just leave it.
Never underestimate the value of paying someone so you could yell at them later too.
Right, yes, exactly. But he said, that they just can't match the technology that goes into these motor drive hybrid modules. They just can't match it with discrete parts. They're just, the technology in them so advanced.
Yeah.
And the actual, like the physical manufacturing technology is so advanced. That's how they get the performance. I'm talking, megawatts, in like, square inches kind of thing. They're driving these megawatt motors and the loss is, 0.001% or something, really crazy sort of, high-end stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
He said, we just can't do it with discrete parts. It just doesn't work. So, anyway, I thought that was interesting. So hopefully really cool. I can get some teardowns of stuff like that.
I mean, I look at like when you really look at it, right, in terms of like, startups, not so much, but just like even like companies, right? What companies are going to be around in 5, 10, 20 years kind of thing. Like the ones that are solving the big, like heavy problems, like obviously I love industrial stuff, right? And I'm interested in motors and things like that, but like there is some low-hanging fruit there, and like they're hard but they're still hard problems, and I think that is just like that's where the juicy stuff is, right? I mean, you think about
just like that Google, that $1 million Google prize for the like it's just a bloody power inverter. Right? But they want
but it's getting that last squeeze out of it.
Yeah, they want it in like 10 square inches or something, and that's the magic.
Right. And even if that part's not manufacturable, you drive the technology forward to then make other stuff a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller. And
so you have a go at it and you go, I couldn't get 10 square inches, but we got 20 square inches, which is twice as good as the next competitor. Hey, progress, right?
Yeah, you still don't win the $1 million, but
no,
probably get a contract for something.
That's right. Oh, goodness. Yep. Anyway, there you go. We have to call it quits, dude. This is an hour and a half.
Come on, man.
Regular bullshit shows don't go this long.
Come on. All right. Well, there's other good links on the subreddit. So obviously we talked about stupid crap for a while, but we got into some good stuff.
We didn't get onto a lot of stuff. Yeah. And by the way, we are seeking donations on our.
Yeah, if you made it this far, you might as well throw in $1.
Page. Yeah, you may as well. Right. So, yes, thanks to everyone who
You've already heard this
on the
much.
Patreon page. Anyway. Link down below.
That's right.
Awesome. And there's Amp Hour t-shirts somewhere too.
Yeah.
So, yep. Yeah.
And thank you for listening while if you have a 45-minute drive, hopefully we got you there and back. So. Yep.
All right. Yeah, well, I won't. I may not see you next week. You may not be here next week.
I may not. I'm going to a ECE Department Heads Association conference, which I'm excited about.
A bunch of funsters.
I'm going to hang out. Yeah, I'm going to hang out with everybody's professors. So we'll see how that goes.
All right. And so I will hopefully have a super exciting guest.
That's right.
We still have to confirm. But anyway, if not, well, I don't know. We might just skip it, or I'll just anchor the show myself. That'll be fun.
God. Dave talking for an hour. 20 minutes.
Is there nothing worse? All right.
See you, man.
Catch you next time.
Bye.